of parents think that head control is the same as you have to strengthen their muscles to get better head control. But I want to give a different spin on head control. It's not so much your muscle strength. It's actually, you can increase head control by reorganizing the brain to be able to stack your bones more efficiently. So what does that mean? Stacking the bones, reorganizing the brain. Let me show you. So my daughter used to sit like this. So I'm going to show you how stacking the bones affects holding your head, and how muscle tone or muscle strength really doesn't have that much to do with holding your head up. It's actually how your brain organizes the muscles, how your brain organizes the muscles. So my daughter used to sit like this because I used to prop my daughter up to sit, and she learned to sit like this. So her pelvis was rounded because she didn't know how to move her pelvis in any other position but this. To stay upright, her head had to come forward so she would balance. So if her head was back here, she would tip over because her brain didn't know how to organize all the muscles to align her skeleton, to stack her skeleton in an efficient way to hold her upright under gravity. It's a dance your brain has to do with the muscles to organize it, how to hold your skeleton system up. It's not so much about muscle strength or muscle weakness. It's how your brain organizes those muscles to coordinate aligning everything. So this was how she aligned herself with her head forward because her pelvis didn't know how to roll forward. Her pelvis was stuck, rolled backwards, so she was sitting on her tailbone. And you can try this and notice, where does your head go? If your head's back here, you're gonna have to use a lot of stomach muscles, a lot of muscles to hold yourself up so you don't fall over. So this is one way to sit, but it's not a very efficient way because you're using a lot of muscles to hold you upright. Efficient movement actually uses the least amount of muscle power. Muscle power is great, but graceful, efficient, organized movement actually uses the least amount of muscle power because we are stacking the bones under the force of gravity. So you can see this, my bones aren't stacked under gravity, they're actually like leaning backwards, so I have to use muscular strength to hold myself up, and it's like my stomach muscles and my neck, you can see my neck muscles holding me up. Now when I move forward, stacking my bones under the force of gravity, so my vertebrae, my pelvis is more aligned, sitting on the ground, my vertebrae are more stacked on top of each other instead of leaning backwards. My head is more over top of my pelvis, more kind of aligned. I can actually feel myself not using as much muscular effort to hold myself up because my skeleton system is more aligned under the force of gravity. So I have to actually use less muscle effort to hold myself upright. So my head is being held upright because the rest of me is stacked up efficiently under the force of gravity. So it has nothing to do with like muscular effort. It's actually how your brain organizes your muscles to organize your skeleton system under the force of gravity. And that's what can make it super efficient by giving your child options to organize themselves under the force of gravity. Okay, so with each breath, with each movement, so if I want to stick my hand out this way, you can see that when I stick my hand out this way, under the force of gravity, the rest of me has to shift, or I have to tense up somewhere. I have to use muscular effort to hold me upright. So I could do this, stick my hand outright, but I have to hold myself, I have to firm something, I have to use muscular effort. Otherwise, this arm will actually like pull me over, right? It's a force of gravity. I'm holding my arm up under the force of gravity. So something in me has to adjust. Now, if I don't have any idea of where my pelvis is or how it can move and shift, I have to use more muscular effort to hold my arm up. Or I can shift my pelvis and I can align my body under the force of gravity more efficiently. I have more options now. My brain has more options now to move in a more efficient way with less muscular effort. And I can actually reach further than if I just did this And I can actually feel my chest tighten. I have to hold my breath to do this because it's kind of hard. But once I shift my pelvis, it makes it really easy, and I can shift my ribs over and my head can be a part of the movement, etc., etc. So head control isn't just muscular effort in the neck. It actually starts in the pelvis. So if your pelvis hasn't mapped how to roll forward and backwards and sideways, so all of those wonderful movements that you can explore inside the movement class, if their brains haven't mapped the possibility of their pelvis moving in all of these wonderful directions, then they're going to have to use more muscular effort to hold their heads up. Because if your pelvis is locked in this position, like my daughter's was, you can see I have to use a lot of muscular effort to hold my head up, and I don't have as many options. For me to look upwards in this position, it's really, really hard. I like crane my neck, but if my head is stuck in this position and all I do is roll my pelvis forward, all of a sudden I can see backwards much further, and I have more options in movement, and I'm more stacked up on my bones, so I'm using less effort than this. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So if you're looking to help your child gain better head control, go to the pelvis, do those pelvis movement classes. I happen to show you them in sitting right now, like I'm sitting just for the ease of the camera, but it's the same concept. The brain will map that pelvis, those wonderful pelvis movements, even while they're lying down. So you can try those pelvis movement classes when, wherever your child is the most comfortable, in lying down or sitting on your lap. There's some options there, and that will help with head control. Okay, so I hope that helps. So the connection of the pelvis to the head is through that vertebrae. You can see it on my half skeleton here. So the head and the pelvis are connected through the vertebrae. So they're connected. So what the pelvis does influences what the head does. And what the spine does influences what the head does. So a well-organized pelvis will give your child's brain more options to organize their head more efficiently with less effort under the force of gravity. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so we'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye. Keep moving those pelvises. Keep exploring the pelvis movements. Okay, bye.